So y'all just talked about, because I listened to that episode, y'all just talked about how Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins were like, all right, WotC, so last year. The new thing, Daggerheart, let's go.
We're very proud of Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford in making the switch. We know it's needed, and we know that, there are only so many cooks that can be in a kitchen that is perpetually on fire.
It's so true. And the thing is they're not the only people to leave WotC recently.
No.
As it turns out, Todd Kenreck recently got laid off, which surprised the hell out of me because he's been the face of their social media for years now.
I can't imagine anyone just willingly firing the face of the party. But here we are.
I'm there with you. What possible reason could you have for making this tactical maneuver unless there's something going on behind the scenes at WotC that they're not ready to talk about yet, which is totally possible. By that, I want to be clear. I don't necessarily mean there's turmoil in the streets, people are shanking each other in the back offices that. I don't think it's quite that dramatic, but there could be a change in strategy that involves really shuffling up the board. And with that in mind, how they've been doing social media, how they've been doing a lot of other things may very well change in the near to immediate future. So that's the only reason I can think of to make a move like that.
I know Business Daddy isn't on the podcast right now, but I'm sure Brandon would say something to the effect of, let's look at what's got them here, right? They've had a pretty big, spectacular flop with Sigil. They had a pretty spectacular flop with the 5.5 editions. They are hemorrhaging fans left and right because of the controversial business decisions and spectacular failures over the past year, with the OGL kicking off most of it. Now Hasbro CEOs are looking at this IP and asking themselves the question of, is it worth it? Is it worth it for the nerd dollars that we were told we would have in our pockets? And why aren't these nerds buying our product if they like it so much?
I mean, there's also the thing to keep in mind is that Hasbro, looking at their own year-to-year numbers, I can't imagine them looking at it and being like, "Oh, is it worth it? Are we getting enough money out of this franchise?" D&D and Wizards of the Coast at large represent a huge, huge chunk of their marketing and income. So I don't what did you know Hasbro for before they owned WotC?
Board games.
Right.
Polly Pocket? No, is that Mattel? I don't even know.
I think that's Mattel. So, right. That's kind of my point.
Hasbro. Chutes and Ladders? Did they make Chutes and Ladders? I don't.
I don't think that was a Hasbro game, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
I'm annoyed. I'm going to look up board games. You vamp for a minute.
But my point being, when you're talking about how is the financial quarter going?
Oh, Monopoly, obviously. Monopoly and Monopoly Go. Brandon is the one who brought that up as part of their quarterly statement, that Monopoly Go and their digital entertainment schema was floating the rest of the company as opposed to the physical products.
Yes, but I think Monopoly Go's very recent. Monopoly Go came along after their WotC acquisition, if I recall correctly.
I mean, probably. Clue. They also did Clue and Life. Hasbro did Clue, Life, Guess Who, Taboo, Monopoly, Connect 4.
Yeah, so family board games that you would associate with family game night, that was their bread and butter. And news alert: Toys R Us went out of business.
When?
So long ago. I think actually that's only partially true. I think they got bought, and then I think you'll find Toys R Us corners inside department stores now, which is
their website is still live.
It's kind of cute, but it's also kind of upsetting. So what I was trying to say though is Hasbro buying Wizards of the Coast has been a huge financial benefit for them. And that's even when things aren't going super well. Like on slower occasions, WotC's still bringing in, I think it's greater than half of their market share.
But is that because of the D&D community or because of the Magic community?
It's both. It's mostly Magic, though.
It's mostly Magic, isn't it?
It's mostly Magic. But Wizards on the D&D side is still bringing in a significant amount of money. The trouble, and I think you are right on this, the trouble is there's a lot of controversy that comes with the D&D brand that is really hard to excise yourself from.
And even if it's not the money, like let's say they're perfectly profitable off of selling the books over and over and over again to people who've already bought them 5 times. Let's say that they are making enough money. There's still the emotional fatigue of dealing with a particular community of very outspoken role-playing nerds.
Well, and those very outspoken nerds have very strong feelings about things that are pretty hard to dissuade. So all this to say, I was surprised to see Todd Kenreck was getting laid off, particularly during what is clearly a bit of a tumultuous time for them. What I was also surprised to learn is that Jess Lanzillo, who was the vice president of, I want to say it was creative design. Gosh, I just had this up.
We can't mess this up.
No, I'm having complete brain death this morning, and that's on me.
I'm gonna go stalk her LinkedIn real quick.
She was the vice president for Dungeons and Dragons, and before that, she was the creative director for Magic the Gathering. Folks who've been listening to the show for a while may famously recall Jess Lanzillo as being someone that I talked to at Gen Con pretty briefly about the possibility of getting digital copies into physical books so that stores like the Alpha Comics and Games, conveniently located in Willow Lawn, Richmond, Virginia, could have books that contain the digital and physical copies that Wizards is so happy to sell on the D&D Beyond website as bundles, but for some reason can't figure out how to distribute on a store-to-store basis. Big shrug.
So Lanzillo was vice president of franchise and product for Dungeons and Dragons recently. Do you know where she moved to? Where she found her new home?
Those good old White Wolf folks.
Yes, White Wolf and World of Darkness is back again, absorbing the remnants from the D&D franchise. They've been waiting patiently in the windy wings for the franchise to fall, and they could once again reign supreme over the edgelords and the goths. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for a World of Darkness revival, and it is on its way. And when they come out with the new books that they're adapting for this current year to include Mage, I will let you know. You will be the first to know, listener, aside from my lovely wife who has to listen to me rant about all of this forever.
The thing I find really fascinating about this is that something that had not, I don't know, it kind of occurred to me broadly, but until I was at a couple of parties at Gen Con, I didn't really consider the scope and breadth of this as a situation. The tabletop creator community is not a big group of people. And on top of that, because it's such a small group, it tends to be fairly insular. So I was at a Dungeons and Dragons party at Gen Con last year. That's where I met Jess Lanzillo and got to ask her about books. And there was a bunch of people there who had been known on X at the time of the OGL scandal for being like, they're back at it again, these corporate mooks. Like, I can't believe they're trying to pull crap like this. And like, we gotta rise up and fight back and take down the oppressors. And I'm like, but y'all are here now, and it's only been a couple of years. And when I talked to some of them about it, I was like, man, it's crazy to think that all of us are hanging out at Wizards of the Coast D&D party when so recently it was like Wizards of the Coast is the enemy. Well, let's be clear, Hasbro is the enemy and Wizards of the Coast is their vessel for being the enemy. And they were like, I mean, look, man, there's not that many of us out there. We can't afford to go to endless war with each other. It's just not functional as an industry. We have to be willing to figure out things that are unacceptable, correct them, and then let bygones be bygones after that. And I was like, that's very mature for a bunch of nerds.
A bunch of opinionated nerds who don't know when to shut up.
No, that's me.
I do agree with the sentiment because we've seen a lot of people come up to us after games or even in just passing, chatting about what we do as goblins. And it always comes down to the crux of the matter. What system do you use? You're not using 5th edition, are you? You're not using that disgusting 5th edition. Well, I mean, like, yeah, of course we are, because our community understands how it works and we don't have to reteach a new system all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that we are betrothed to 5th edition. I think that we've done a pretty good job of keeping our game system neutral for that. But if you look at it at the end of the day, because I always do question myself when I say shit like that. If you look at it at the end of the day, yes, it's still using a D20. Yes, there are still abilities that reference spells within the 5th edition ecosystem. And until we can get a truly public SRD, that's always going to be the case, right? You're going to have to naturally be borrowing from different systems. And even in the creation of these new ones, you're still seeing the same mechanics being refreshed into a different interpretation.
Yeah.
So, agreed. We can't pick fights with each other because eventually we're going to want to work together or steal something from one another and be okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, I think, some of the conversation I've seen going on online from fans being like, oh my God, like Chris Perkins has left. Oh my God, like Jess Lanzillo just left. Like, what do you think there's a lot of drama happening at Wizards of the Coast? And it's like, honestly, probably not. Probably what happened.
They're depreciating the IP, getting rid of the old guard, putting it on ice, and then are going to start funneling out some weaker world building books and materials.